This is the transition where the incoming president sued a newspaper for publishing a poll he didn't like, after he sued a news network for airing an interview with his opponent in the political campaign, which was followed by his pick for FCC chair, citing that grievance to threaten the parent company of that news network. This is the transition where he appointed his son's girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, to be an ambassador to Greece. He tried to give his other son's wife a Senate seat before that didn't work out, and he named a family member who's a convicted felon to be the ambassador to France. Bonjour. What's the cost of this stuff, right? Like, what's the matter with nepotism? Ask France, right? It means France is going to get a felon as their ambassador from the U.S. government, a felon who does not speak French. Trump was asked by a French newspaper why the French people and the French government shouldn't worry about this random pick for ambassador to one of what is supposedly one of our most important allies. Trump said in response, quote, "He's a very good friend of mine. It's something he really wanted to do. He feels so strongly about it. This was his first choice by far." That sounds like an excellent reason to give somebody an ambassadorship to one of the most important countries in our global alliance. He wanted it so much, more than the other stuff. He wanted it, and I know him. So what's the matter with nepotism? Right? I mean, the good friends and felons and family members of the leader, they get whatever they want, whatever job they feel strongly about. And that has a cost. It means that people who are qualified for a job like that, people who might do a good job at that kind of a job, they don't get the job. You extrapolate from that one kind of decision to a million decisions about staffing up the government. And once you're stuffing it with people who've paid for the privilege or who are related to you or who are ex-felons who have reason to ask you for something, that ultimately, in total, makes our government suck and makes it an embarrassment. Right? These things have a cost to all of us and to our country. It's the same thing with Trump taking money from foreign interests and foreign governments. Right? There's a reason that foreigners aren't allowed to make political campaign contributions in the United States, right? It's obvious to all of us. Foreign countries, foreign governments, foreign interests shouldn't get to put U.S. government officials or a U.S. president on their payroll. Right? If they do, the U.S. government and the U.S. president will start serving those foreign interests they're getting paid to serve instead of doing stuff that is good for our country. So, obviously, we cannot have foreign donations to campaigns. That principle we all understand. We understand the cost to us as a country, why it would make our country kind of suck if other countries could pay our politicians to do stuff to serve other countries instead of serving us. We get that. That said, there are no restrictions on foreign citizens or foreign governments buying stock in Trump's media company or buying up crates and crates of his $100,000 Trump-branded watches or approving and financing huge new Trump real estate projects, like the ones that are going up in Oman and the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia and India. They just get to pay him. They just get to put him on their payroll while he's serving as president. And there's no reason why foreign interests, even foreign governments, can't just put money directly in Trump's pocket by buying his new crypto coin. And yeah, that must be awesome if you are a foreign despot or an evil mustache twirling zillionaire, even in this country. And as of today, you're essentially, you essentially have an open invitation right now to get the U.S. government and the U.S. president to do things that are good for you and things that are bad for the American people and the U.S. government. You essentially have an open invitation to do those things. And that might be great for you. But those things are bad for the American people, right? It's not just a spectacle to behold. The president, launching the things that he has been launching, right? The president launching his own meme coin currency, selling stuff with his brand on it, doing business deals with foreign governments while he's serving as president. It is, one level, that's a novel thing for us to see, This is new. But it's also boring because this is the oldest story in the world, because this is every other country on earth, right? This is the kind of corruption that is how most of the world works. This is the kind of corruption that explains why most government sucks around the world and why most countries aren't democracies. Because this stuff has a cost. Why is bribery bad? Bribery is good for the people who are participating in the bribery, right? But bribery is bad for everybody else because it means anybody who doesn't pay a bribe doesn't get anything from the government. Once you can pay officials in the government to do things for you, the whole government quickly just turns into a system for extracting bribes and doing nothing else. Why is corruption bad? Like favoritism in government contracts. Why is that bad? It's bad not just because it sounds gross and it feels gross. It's bad because it makes the country suck. It means every government contract is more expensive for the taxpayers who pay for it, and that more expensive contract buys less. Corruption means that bridges and roads and buildings get built by people who have criminal and corrupt means of getting those contracts. They're not getting those contracts because they know how to do the work well, or they'll be expected to do it well. Trump profiting from all these schemes in office, from the Middle East apartment towers to the trash coin Ponzi-like schemes that he's launching even just days ahead of today's inauguration. All these things mean that he's effectively accepting cash tributes from people in this country and from people around the world. And once a political leader is accepting cash tributes from some people, what that tends to mean is that people who don't pay him tributes go to the back of the line, and the only people who get served are the people who are putting money in his pocket. It means that American foreign policy, American tech policy, American immigration policy, eventually all American policies will all be tilted to the benefit of the people who are paying him. And that means that policy will get worse for everybody else. The executive director of the Campaign Legal Center described Trump's new crypto coin that he created this weekend as, quote, literally cashing in on the presidency, creating a financial instrument so people can transfer money to the president's family in connection with his office. And woe be to you if you need something from the U.S. government and you haven't given him any cash. I mean, the exciting thing about having all the billionaires at the inauguration today is that it is new for us to see that. Wow, that's crazy. That's like Gilded Age stuff. Wow. Novelty, I guess, is its own reward. But the boring thing about seeing that is that we know exactly where this leads, because every other country in the world that has ever gone through this same process has produced the same results. Corruption and oligarchy everywhere and always make for lousy, boring countries with bad governance and worsening standards of living. And regular people having fewer and fewer opportunities to change the system back to something that's based on law, to something that might work for regular, everyday people.